Hey guys, Jack here, bringing you a little review slash impressions video of Ghost Recon Online. Some of you may know, a couple of weeks ago I was lucky enough to go to Ubisoft in Dusseldorf and check out the game, some new gear that they have, and also a new map pack. I'd already played the game before for a few hours, so I knew sort of what it was about, but having gone to the event and then come back home and played it some more, I think I've got a good impression of if I like the game, what I like about it and what I don't like about it, and ultimately whether I think you guys should be checking this game out. First things first, Ghost Recon Online is a free-to-play game. You can get this game and spend absolutely nothing on it if you don't want to. You earn requisition points by playing the game, so if you want to upgrade your weapons or buy a new gun or some new gear for your character, you can actually do that all in-game by just playing and earning XP and RP points. So it's a tactical multiplayer shooter on PC, and I thought you guys would like to know my impressions of it. At the moment I think there's 8 or 9 maps in total, so there's plenty of variety there to keep you occupied anyway. 3 game modes, which are Conquest, Onslaught and Holdout. Conquest is actually my favourite game type in GRRO, and I think it's probably the one that gets played the most. It's like a tug-of-war style version of Conquest, where there's a series of points and we have to sort of capture them in order, and that way you end up winning the game. Very interesting, where both teams are attacking and defending at the same time. There's plenty of guns to choose from in the games. You know, you've got your usual sniper rifles, shotguns, assault rifles, SMGs, pistols, everything that you can think of is probably in there. There's also near future gadgets, which I like because it sort of allows the developer and also the players to have a bit of fun. You know, in this market where we're sort of saturated with very serious modern day shooters that pride themselves on realism and immersiveness, it's nice that we can have a few little sci-fi futuristic things in there occasionally. All the gadgets and equipment in the game, it all puts a big emphasis on team play, and by themselves the class unique skills that you get. So the Recon gets like the Oracle, which is sort of like a little wall hack for a few seconds. The Assault guy gets like a Charge, which is a knockdown. The Support guy can get like a Scrambler UAV, and also like a nice little bubble which he can protect himself and his team with. Now by themselves, they don't seem like an amazing thing to have because you can't really do much work with it on your own. But if you use these skills and abilities with your teammates, you can really exploit them and use them to the best of their abilities. So one thing I like, the 3 classes, they all work really well together and against each other. If you play Recon as well, you don't have to play it as a sniper. You can always go with like an SMG like the P90, which is very good and very effective at close range, and take like the Cloak. So you cloak, you run around, you do like a nice flank, and you just waste a load of people from behind with the P90. You know, you don't always have to sit back when you're playing a Recon class. In general, I think the controls are very responsive. You can adjust various sensitivities, you can change pretty much everything you can think of. It actually feels like a proper shooter. You know, I think the UI in particular is very well polished. There's plenty of stuff to configure there, which is good. In general, the overall quality is pretty high, and I'd say it's a lot higher than what you'd normally expect for a free-to-play game. You know, when you say free-to-play, you think about stuff like Angry Birds or Cut the Rope or like a demo of something. This feels like it could be like an Xbox Live Arcade title, for example, which they charge you like $10 for. It is very well polished and detailed in general. The level design, of course, that's very important in multiplayer maps. Some of the original maps that were released on launch, I think there were 4 of them, they do seem very similar, and the map design isn't great. However, the newer maps that they've added are actually pretty good. You know, they've got better flanking routes, and you know, I think they've definitely got better with working out a unique art style for each level. Like I said, the first 4 maps do look very similar, but the latest maps have got their own characteristics and definitely their own feeling. However, there's one map in particular which is like the subway level, which I think is a bit too linear, and I'm not very fond of that one, and it often results in spawn camping, which is never any good. Quite frustrating. You're either the one doing the spawn camping because you've pushed all the flags up, or the one being spawn camped, which is annoying because your entire team just ends up quitting the server and you're sort of stuck there and just have to wait until the game finishes. So yeah, some of the maps a bit too linear, but most of them are well thought out, especially the newer maps. Customization is okay. Obviously you can pick your headgear, your goggles, your armor that you wear, and that isn't just aesthetic most of the time. A lot of the stuff that you wear actually affects how much health you have or how fast you are, so you got to look at the different stats and weigh up how you want to look over, is this actually a good piece of equipment to have. As much as you can change the gear of the character, as far as I'm aware, there's no way to have like an emblem or anything, which would be nice. So if I could have like my logo on the side of my character, that'd be cool. Also, I'd like to be able to change my face. Like, there should be more options there. Maybe the skin type of your character as well. The sound design is pretty solid. The guns sound quite meaty. Most importantly though, footsteps are very audible, so in a tactical multiplayer shooter like this, the sound of players moving around is very important. You want to know when someone's running behind you, or whether they're on the right, or whether they're in front of you on the wall on the left, you know, and that's very important. Glad to tell you, in GRRO, that's pretty solid. I like it. One of the big problems with the game, which I don't think is really the game's fault, rather it's like an inherent flaw with third-person multiplayer games, and that's corner camping. So obviously the game's in third person, which means that you get quite a wide field of view and you can see around corners and stuff. You can switch to first person when you aim more accurately if you want, but the majority of players will run around in third person and then just shoot with first person. So defensive players always have the advantage. You know, once you know the map, it's very hard to beat a team of skilled, knowledgeable players who know all the choke points. They can just stand behind a wall, wait for you to run up, peek out. You've got a very low chance of actually killing them. They've got the advantage of you, they've got their aim in place, and they're pretty much always going to kill you. So, as I said earlier, some of the poorer maps, which aren't designed as well, which are a bit too linear, just quite often actually result in spawn camping, which gets rather boring after a while. But yeah, I don't really see that being a problem with the game. You know, obviously everyone has third person, so everyone can have that advantage. But it 95% of the time gives a massive advantage to a defensive player, and in a multiplayer game it should be a bit more interesting than that, I think, and you should be able to attack effectively without always having to worry about the guy that's corner camping you and he's going to kill you pretty much every time. The matchmaking in general I think is okay. When I started playing the game, when I first picked it up a few months back, the matchmaking was pretty poor from my experiences anyway, and it was quite laggy. But I'm glad to say that having played the game now at the LAN event and also at home, so obviously at home I'm playing it online, the matchmaking has been improved a lot more, and I'm being put into games where there's lots of different classes and there isn't much lag, so I'm glad to see that they're making improvements in that respect. Obviously with the game being free to play, there's always a danger that it's going to be pay to win, and this is a phrase that's thrown around all the time for multiplayer free to play titles. It's pay to win. You just buy the best guns, whoever's got the most money is going to win the game. From my experience, it's not really like that in Ghost Recon Online, and most importantly, it doesn't throw the microtransactions in your face. You know, you can just go straight into a game without ever buying anything, without ever seeing the shop if you want to. And I really like how some of the better weapons in the game are locked under level requirements, so someone with a load of money can't just pick up the game for the very first time, fire it up, buy the best gear and the best gun in the game and just beat you down. You know, you've got to actually play the game for a while first and level up before you can buy those guns. That's very good, and I think a lot more free-to-play titles should adopt that mentality. It just stops it slipping into pay-to-win territory, in my opinion. That's very important. One thing that I despise, though, about the pay-to-win model, I don't like having to buy grenades, because I feel that that's a big imbalance sometimes. One other thing I'm not very fond of, you know, I'm trying to be as honest as possible here. There's no way to change class mid-game, as far as I can tell. I might be wrong on this, but I've tried lots of different ways. You can change your weapon when you're in a game, but obviously you can't change your class. So say you're playing a match, you start out as like a recon with a sniper rifle and it doesn't go really well, your team gets pushed back and you want to change class to assault because sniper rifle isn't working out. As far as I can see, there's no way of doing that mid-game, and I think that's very important in a multiplayer game. You should be able to drastically switch up your game style if you want to, but at the same time I understand why they've done that, and I guess it's so you're not always in a game with like 8 snipers or 8 people playing assault. The matchmaking tries to put you in a game where there's like a nice balance of classes, and obviously if you could change class mid-game, that would ruin that element of the matchmaking. One final point before I move on to my conclusion. As far as I can tell, again, I don't think there's a penalty for quitting a match. So sometimes you'll start a game and you'll absolutely crush the opposition and you'll push them up to their spawn, and within the first like 4 minutes of the game, the whole entire team apart from one guy will just quit, and you're playing against, it's like an 8v1 and it's really boring and you just got to wait for the game to finish. So if there isn't a penalty for quitting the game, then I think there should be. In conclusion though, I've had a lot of fun playing Ghost Recon Online. I think it's a very solid multiplayer shooter. You can employ tactics. It's got actual aiming in it, so you can be a very skilled aimer. You can learn the maps. There's plenty of flanking routes on a lot of the newer maps. And as I said, I could easily see this being sold online. It's got that sort of quality to it. It's very well produced, and most importantly, it doesn't feel pay to win to me. Anyways, you know, I'm just using the basic equipment when I'm playing online at home, and I'm still doing very well against higher level players than me who have, you know, the better guns. Obviously you can buy guns which do more damage, but I think I'm holding up pretty well with just the basic stuff. With that said though, if you put enough time into the game, you're probably going to end up buying some better weapons on it anyways, and supporting the developers and the publishers, because obviously, you know, they make this game and not everything can be free. You know, there is a production cost associated with it. So if you like the game, I'm sure you've probably already spent some money on it. So yeah, definitely check this game out if you haven't played it already. It can be a lot of fun, trust me. I think the audience is quite mature as well. Obviously it's a PC game at heart, and a lot of people use the voice over IP in the game to call tactics. You can make clans as well if you want to, and little fire teams. There's also like daily missions you can do as well, which are cool. And I think one of the most important elements of the game as well is that you don't need an amazingly beastly PC to run this game. You know, you can run it on pretty old hardware at a decent frame rate. So if you're new to PC gaming, or you've got an old PC and you decide, you know what, I want to check out some PC games, then in my opinion this is probably one of the best free-to-play tactical multiplayer shooters you can get at the moment. Simple as that. I can't really think of anything that's better than this in terms of gameplay and tactics and just overall polish. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Do check the game out, it is pretty cool. I've also got some mouse mats to give away, which the guys at Ubisoft were kind enough to give to me. Now these are Razer Ghost Recon Online mouse mats. They look pretty swish, and I've got 8 of them to give away in total. If you want to win one of these, there's no competition or anything. Just message me, just send me a message on YouTube with your address, and I'll pick 8 people at random, and you could get a nice little Razer mouse mat in the post. So yeah, try your luck, why not? Leave me a rating and a comment, guys, if you've played the game. Let me know what you think about it. Do you agree with me? Do you think the points that I raise are valid, or do you hate the game? Do you love the game? How do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.